It's opening morning of elk season, and there's been a fair amount of shooting already. There's elk sign absolutely everywhere. We came up here last night to set up camp. I mean, just every ridge loaded with trails, droppings, and unfortunately there's also a ton of hunters. There must have been 15 trucks in the lot, 2 or 3 horse trailers. We already saw one big wall camp tent set up at the bottom of the drainage, and I think there's about 12 or 14 guys in it. And most of the shooting has been in some pretty hard to get to areas. We were only about 3.5 miles and about 1,500 feet above the trailhead with our camp. So I'm just still hunting the north side of a ridge, and after I get done with that, I think I'm going to go back, pick up my tent, all my camp stuff, and I'm going to go another 2 miles in. I'm hearing quite a few bugles, both on this ridge and then deeper in, and I think I can get a lot better handle on where they're going to be at. If I set my camp up over there, I'll have a lot shorter walk in the morning. I'm sitting on a bench on the north slope of the ridge at about 10,200 feet elevation. There was rain predicted today, a chance of it anyway, but at this elevation that's pretty much snow, which is what we got right now. And I mean, this snow has just started up in the last half an hour, and everything you see behind me, that's all in the last half an hour. I think we'll have an inch before too long. So it's still a little dark right now. You can probably tell I got some motion blur on the camera. It's because I got the shutter speed way down to collect more light. It is just almost whiteout conditions right now. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time, wait for that sun to get a little bit higher, which could take a while because it's on the north slope. And then I'm going to just start still hunting that north slope bedding and hope I can keep all the snow out of my scope. After I finished still hunting back up to the top of the ridge, and I didn't see any tracks or any sign of elk actually being there this morning, I got back to the tent, took off all my snow-packed clothes, shook them off as best as I could, dried out my optics, cleaned out my rifle, and now I'm just basically waiting for the snow to stop. Well, the snow stopped just long enough for me to take a little walk. I did some scouting. Didn't find a single fresh track since this morning, so that storm has really got the elk bedded down. Didn't jump anything either. As far as tonight is concerned, I might go watch a timberline right at sunset and save some of those spots that I found today for tomorrow, hoping that the weather's going to be better. I mean, right now, still that weather's just nasty. It's almost like just in a cloud up here. There was one little brief period where I saw some blue in the sky, and then in 5 more minutes it was gone. I'm really hoping that clears up and it doesn't stay like that for the next 3 days, because that will be just miserable. Alright, it's now Monday morning and it snowed all through last night, snowed and sleeted, and even through this morning it's kind of off and on. Given the spots that I found yesterday, I'd love to stay up here if I knew it was going to clear up, but if it's not, I mean, just staying up here is just going to be kind of dangerous. As it is, a lot of the snow is pushing down into my tent. It's making condensation on the inside of my rain fly. It's dripping down, getting onto my sleeping bag, and it's a down bag. It's got a water resistant coating on it, but I mean, if that wears through and the down gets wet, it loses all of its insulation properties, and that can be a really bad situation being 6 miles and about 2,000 feet above the truck. You can definitely tell that the weather's had an effect on the other hunters as well. I mean, there's probably, if I had to estimate, 20 to 25 people in this drainage hunting, and all yesterday I heard one shot, and it was right when the snow started. No shots since then, no shots last night, no shots this morning. I mean, it's just been completely dead. That is the first time I've been able to see the top of that peak in like 36 hours. That's not even that far away. Mountain weather really is something else. I mean, just this morning I was ready to go back to the truck and dry all my stuff out, and not 3 hours later, it's just sunny as can be. And here's the tip. Always set your stuff up on the south side in the open so that if it does get sunny, you can start drying your stuff out. I pretty much walked around the entire mountain, north side, west side, east side, the whole thing. I only caught 3 sets of tracks the entire time, followed them for a ways, and they just kind of seemed like wandering tracks, no real direction, never bedded down, no real straight line. I also met a guy on the trail today that's from the llama camp down at the bottom of the drainage, and he filled me in that there's one outfitter camp with nobody in it right now, them, 3 other horse camps, a couple groups that are backpacking, and then several guys that are hiking on up to 3 miles off the trailhead every day. It seems like those groups down in the valley all seem to share information a little bit better since they're in such close proximity, and according to him, nobody has seen an elk since the opening day. This is the type of stuff I've had to deal with all trip. This one's not even wearing enough blaze orange. It's now Tuesday afternoon. Still hasn't been much of elk sign since the snow up where I was, further away from the parking lot. But Travis and Matt told me over the walkie-talkies that they've still been seeing some running around, and Matt actually got a couple shots off at a cow. So I packed up my tent and I came over back by them. So now I'm hunting maybe 3 miles or so from the truck. And we're going to hunt here tonight, hunt again tomorrow, and then probably back out tomorrow around noon. So we didn't get an elk. We saw some, mostly cows flying through the thickets on opening day. I never mentioned it in the dialogue, but opening morning I had a 5x4 bull headed up toward me in the back of a saddle, about 5 miles from the parking lot. And then about 400 yards before he got to the point where I could actually see him, 2 other hunters started unloading on him. They didn't know I was set up there, and I didn't know they were set up there. I guess you could just call that bad luck. Some people were successful. This nice 6x7 was shot by an old-timer who's been hunting there for about 30 years now. As we stood there and discussed hunting techniques and he gave me some tips looking at my topos, he admitted that finding the elk is the easy part. Anticipating where the hunters go is almost impossible until you've actually been there for a season and can witness it firsthand. Admittedly, I did quite a bit of research on elk hunting for this hunt. Books, magazines, forums, and a lot of them say about the same thing. If you want to be successful, go in deep. Most guys stay within a half a mile of the trail. If you distance yourselves from them and get into that rugged terrain, then you'll be successful. A lot of guys hunt up in the morning, so if you're already waiting before first light at the top of the saddle, they'll push the elk toward you. Well, those rules really didn't hold at all in our area. All those horses had no problem going all the way up the drainage, and if you cross the pass and go into the next drainage, you just found more horse camps. A lot of these guys were already set up at the top of the saddles and ridges before first light, just like we were. They weren't dumb. They were reading the same articles and doing all the research that we were, and everybody seemed to have pretty similar ideas on how to hunt. So what ended up happening was almost a reversal of the rule.
Toward the end of the season, we started seeing more elk sign at lower elevations and closer to the trailhead. So that's an important point to keep in mind if you're planning a trip. And if the sign shows it, don't be afraid to go to the more easily accessible spots, even if it seems counterintuitive. Although I'm pretty confident that I could go back to that drainage next year with the knowledge I've gained and be successful, I'm going to look into different do-it-yourself opportunities for elk hunting in the archery season, in Colorado as well as states like Utah, Idaho, and probably Wyoming. Earlier in the season, I should have more free space in my pack, which means more camera gear and a lot better footage than what I had in this hunt. I'm also going to be uploading a complete gear list to the DIY Sportsman Facebook page, and I'm going to upload another video going in depth over the entire gear list, telling what I did or didn't like about the items that I brought and what I wish I had or hadn't brought. So I got a link to that below. Go check the page out and please give it a like.